Ahoy mateys, here be Captain Ed 40 greeting you with the tale of treasure, friendship, and revenge in Pokemon HeartGold. After Ghetsis crushed me in black, I decided I needed to go back to basics. And what better way to do that than by doing a hardcore Nuzlocke of the most common type in the largest Pokemon game? The water type is really diverse, with some great Pokemon and some truly awful ones. With 22 viable encounters, this will be one of the largest pools of Pokemon I ever get on a run. I find HeartGold and Soul Silver really interesting. While I love the Pokemon walking behind you, and actually enjoy the storyline, at least compared to the Gen 1 games, it's hard not to feel like these games weren't poorly designed, at least somewhat, with low level caps and a relatively barren Kanto. Still, I'm excited for this challenge, because I think a hardcore Nuzlocke will make these games way better. I'm setting a goal for myself to try and maximize the Pokemon I can get as early as possible too, so we'll see how that goes. Before we begin, here are the rules of this Nuzlocke. You can only catch the first water type encounter in each area. I'm playing with a species clause, so if I catch a Pokemon, I can't catch another of that species even if the rules allow it. I can separately catch Pokemon for HM use, but can't use them in a battle. If a Pokemon faints, it's counted as dead and can no longer be used. No items can be used in battle except ones previously attached to a Pokemon. The battle mode must be on set, and finally, there's no leveling past the cap of a gym leader's ace. If a Pokemon does this, it can no longer be used until the gym is over. And with that out of the way, let's begin! We leave home and I look out onto the water yearning to explore. A kid kicks me as I see him staring into Elm's lab. I have to get stronger. I go in and Elm lets me take a Pokemon. What luck! I take a Totodile, the first time I've gotten to use a starter from the start of run. I name him Drake. Drake has a relaxed nature, with plus defense and minus speed. Not great, but it could be worse for sure. With my first maiden hand, we can finally begin to take Johto by storm. On Route 29, we find our first treasure. It's only a potion, but bigger ones will come soon. We make our way to Mr. Pokemon's, where we get a Pokédex and have to run another errand. Professor Elm calls us as we're leaving Mr. Pokemon's house and alludes to a Pokemon being stolen. This is unacceptable. We're the only ones allowed to plunder on this run. We run into the thief and he tries to fight us. After an incredibly long time, I'm able to check his Chikorita out, but I see his name. I later learned that Drake has incredibly low attack and speed IVs, which definitely hurt his damage output so far. I don't think it'll be a run ender or anything, but it could make things tricky. I'm forced to snitch on my rival when I return to New Barktown, so I name him The Law. My mom offers to store my money, which is perfect because we'll need a trustworthy bank. Lyra bumps into me outside of Violet City, and it just occurred to me that I have basically no idea what she's doing my entire journey. Does anyone know? I feel like she just disappears. In Violet City, we can get our next Pokemon. Everyone's favorite TV Big Brother Primo is in the Pokemon Center, and he looks like the perfect mark. I hypnotize him into giving me an egg by uttering the magic phrases Damp Kenai and Mr. Hate, a name I'm absolutely going to use in the future. After some walking around, the egg hatches into my quartermaster, a fearsome whooper. I name him Barbarossa. Barbarossa has an adamant nature, plus attack and minus special attack. Not bad at all. We switch train Barbarossa in Sprat Tower and see the Elder tell the Law that Pokemon aren't tools of war. Little does he know the destruction we're soon to wreak on the region. We battle the Elder, and while Vine Whips take Drake to just above half, I'm able to maneuver him around to take both the Bellsprouts out easily and give Barbarossa some experience. A crit takes out his Hoot Hoot. Now that we've ransacked his Flash TM, there's a bigger treasure we can get in Violet City. The first badge. We head on up to good old Faulkner. Because neither Drake nor Barbarossa is a heavy hitter right now, this fight could get a little tight depending on our luck. I send Barbarossa in against Pidgey. It hits Sand Attack as I use a Water Gun. I get it down to the low yellow, taking only minor damage, and just start missing everything. Pidgey uses a second Sand Attack too, before we can finally take it out. It's just Pidgeotto now. Barbarossa is thankfully above half health, so we have a little leeway. I can get off 2 tail whips as Gust sends Barbarossa to the red, and then switch into Drake. Drake hits a bite to take it to nearly half after it gets taken just above half with 2 hits. Another brings Pidgeotto to the red, as it sends Drake to a third. It uses Roost, which gets us right back to where we were. Another Gust brings Drake to 5 HP before I can finally hit a bite to take it out. Jeez. My team is bruised, but we've got our first badge. An auspicious start for my intrepid group. We nab a Togepi egg for future potential HMUs, and then run down Route 32, avoiding any trainers until we get to the random Pokemon Center on the route. Here, we get the tool for our next several encounters, the Old Rod. In Ruins of Alph, we catch my Powder Monkey, a roguish Magikarp, and name her Bonnie. Bonnie has a brave nature, plus attack and minus speed, which is a solidly mixed bag. On Route 32, we catch my second mate, Zhang, a ferocious Poliwag. Zhang has a timid nature, minus attack and plus speed. This is really bad for when it evolves, but it's solid for now. In Dark Cave, I catch my Sailing Master, a terrifying Goldeen, and name her Reed. Reed has a naughty nature, plus attack and minus special defense. Pretty good, actually. Heading back to Cherry Grove, I fish up my cook, a cutthroat Krabby I name O'Malley. O'Malley has a jolly nature, which is minus special attack and plus speed. Pretty good! And that's it for encounters for now. We make our way to Azalea Town finally. We see Team Rocket beating up some villager as they sell Slowpoke tails for profit. How dare they? First the Law, and now Team Rocket. Where does it end? To beat the thieves, we've got to plunder them. Kurt gets this, even though he hurts himself before he even really starts. I make it to Proton and challenge him to a battle. I switch out Bonnie for Reed, who mitigates Proton Zubat's leech lives with a Shell Bell as she takes it out with Horn Attack. Coughing is next. It immediately begins using Smokescreen, and I decide to switch Reed as soon as she misses. She takes Coughing below half and gets poisoned, going below half herself. I go into Barbarossa, who takes a crit Smog and gets poisoned. A Water Gun doesn't take it out, and a Tackle and poison damage bring him under half. Barbarossa gets hit with a Smokescreen, but Water Gun doesn't miss and takes out Coughing for the win. Kurt becomes our ball guy as our reward. I go back to Slowpoke Well and find a burly Slowpoke. I catch him and name him Lopez. Lopez will be our helmsman soon, but I probably won't get much use out of him in the near future. He has a lax nature, plus defense and minus special defense, which is fine. So, now that I've trained everyone up, it's time for Bugsy. I'm a little bit worried about facing him right now, if I'm being honest. His Scyther is something of a roadblock, and my team might not make it out unscathed. I have no choice though, I've gotta nab this badge. I lead with Reed. It hits a Water Pulse as Scyther uses Leer. It confuses! Scyther hurts itself and a peck activates its berry. It hits itself again and another peck brings it to the red. Bugsy uses a Super Potion as I pick again. Scyther somehow hurts itself again as I peck to get it to the yellow. Incredible luck. But then Scyther breaks through confusion to hit a U-turn, which crits, taking Reed out. I wasn't expecting that, and it's awful, but we've got to continue. I send Drake in, and he takes Metapod out with a few bites. Scyther's back in, and a bite takes her to the red as she uses Focus Energy. She uses a U-turn next, and I'm just praying it doesn't crit. And it doesn't! Drake gets set back to a third before his Citrus Berry activates. Kakuna doesn't poison, and so 3 bites later, it's out. Now it's just Scyther. Bugsy knows this, so he goes for U-turn to try and take Drake out. But he survives on 4 HP! Bite gets us the win. Drake's rewarded for his service by evolving into a Croconaw. I realized after the battle that I could have taught Rock Tomb to a couple of my Pokemon, but oh well. Rest in peace, Reed. Glad to know you're swimming with the fishes now. I drop Reed off in the graveyard and mourn the death of one of my stronger attackers. I'm really not sure what to do for this upcoming battle with the Law, so I get a little training in and get most of my party to the cap. It's not that bad of a matchup overall, but his Bayleaf is a nightmare for my team. I lead with Lopez. Ghastly hits him with Curse as he takes it out with a Twisted Spoon boosted Confusion. Bayleaf is next. It set up Reflect as I used Yawn. switch to Drake on the next turn as Bayleaf poisons it. I realized I forgot to attach a Pecha Berry at this point, so let's hope this works. Bayleaf falls asleep and I hit Leer. It stays asleep and I'm able to get 2 more off. I don't want to risk much more though, so I switch into O'Malley. Bayleaf stays asleep, so it's clean. Now, let's see where it gets me. O'Malley uses Vice Grip, and it takes Bayleaf under half. It wakes up and poisons O'Malley though. But it's okay because we outspeed and another Vice Grip finishes him off. It's just Zubat left, and it goes down and 2 more Vice Grips for the win. I'm glad the sleep strategy worked, because that was really my only workable idea. I'm asked to nab 2 Farfetch'd, which I'm more than happy to help with for a reward. O'Malley guides a Kimono Girl through a forest we've never set foot in before, so I'm impressed. In Goldenrod, I do all the shopping I'm willing to do before taking a radio card. This just leaves Whitney. I'm worried about how bulky her Miltank is. I don't have an amazing strategy for her, so this might be a grind. I send O'Malley in. She uses a Silk Scarf boosted Vice Grip to take Clefairy to just over half, as Clefairy uses Mimic. Another Vice Grip gets it to a Sliver, as it uses Vice Grip. Whitney uses a Super Potion as I keep using Vice Grip. Clefairy gets a chance to respond with Metronome, but just hits a weak Wake-Up Slap before fainting. Now it's Miltank. I hit a Leer after it stomps O'Malley to take a 3rd off. She doesn't get flinched again, and gets another Leer off before I decide to switch to Zhang. Zhang gets taken to half with Stomp before his Oran Berry activates. He responds with a weak Headbutt before getting taken to 11 HP. See ya, Zhang! Barbarossa is in next, and gets taken just above half with a Stomp. Miltank hits a track, immobilizing Barbarossa. Another Stomp activates his Citrus Berry, but he's finally able to hit a Headbutt. Another Stomp brings him to 4 HP before he gets immobilized. I switch into Drake, who takes a Stomp to lose a quarter. He then gets hit with the track, but lands a Headbutt that did way more than I thought it would, actually. He gets some Shell Bell recovery too. Now I just need to land 1 more, and after a flinch, we finally do for the win! It was a tough fight, but a real team effort in the end. Whitney's despondent, but we take her badge by any means necessary. On to more gyms to plunder. On Route 35, Barbarossa evolves into a Quagsire. And then a couple minutes after, Bonnie evolves into a Gyarados, finally making her useful. Because stones are so rare in these games, I decide to also stop by the Pokeathlon and compete. I'm truly awful at it, so it takes a while, but we eventually get enough points to buy 4 Water Stones. It's all worth the effort for the treasure. Along the way to Ecruteak, we're blocked by a Sudowoodo, so we make it walk the proverbial plank by using water to torture it. When we get to Ecruteak, I meet Bill, who I tail back to Goldenrod to grab an Eevee from, and I name the Eevee Bartholomew. Bartholomew has a neutral nature, which is great. I decide to just run to Olivine where I can pick up the good rod. I stick around and fish, and after only about 5 attempts, I fish up my Surgeon, a burly Corsola. I name him Gramont. Gramont has a hasty nature, plus speed and minus defense, which isn't that bad. I save a Kimono Girl from Team Rocket and get Surf as a result. I then go back to Route 34 and catch a Staryu, my new sailing master. I name it Davy Jones. Davy Jones has Illuminate, which I'm sad about, but it also has a bold nature, reducing its attack and boosting its defense, which is solid. I then give Bartholomew a Water Stone, letting it evolve into a Vaporeon. This is pretty much all I can do for new encounters at this point in the game, so I get set on training them all up. After a bit, I encounter the Law. His team is strong against ours, but I have some nautical tricks for him. Bonnie takes out his Ghastly in a single bite. Magnemite is next, and I just throw in Barbarossa to negate its Thunder Wave. Then I knock it out with a Mud Bomb. But now it's Bayleaf, and I'm a little worried. I decide to switch Bonnie back in as Bayleaf sets up Reflect. I then chip away with Bite, getting consecutive flinches, but Bayleaf uses Synthesis to regain all its health. Then it poisons Bonnie. I can tell it's gonna outlast me after a while, but I learned Magical Leaf will only do about a 5th on Bonnie. While that could be a lot on a Pokemon who's weak to grass, I have a counter that just might work. I switch Bartholomew in as Bayleaf goes for Synthesis. Then Bartholomew hits Bayleaf with an Ice Beam, taking it to the red as it just goes for Poison Powder. One more finishes it off, and then I just take out the Zubat with another for the win. The law shoves me, jealous of my command over the seas. Right before heading to take on Morty, Jang evolves into a Poliwhirl. Now we're really all set. It's time for Morty. I send out Bonnie, who takes out his Ghastly with Bite. He sends out Gengar next. Gengar outspeeds and hits Bonnie with a Shadow Ball. The crits! Bonnie goes down to the low yellow as she hits a Bite that, with Citrus Recovery, brings Gengar to half. Bonnie definitely can't take another, so I send in my special tank, Bartholomew. Bartholomew hits a relatively weak Shadow Ball before taking out Gengar with the Surf. Morty sends out Haunter. This one uses Curse as a Surf takes it out. Bartholomew goes to about half health. Morty sent in his second Haunter now, who uses Mean Look, and all of a sudden I realize this could be scary. I messed up the order I thought he'd go in, and if I don't take it out now, Bartholomew will faint. Thankfully, Bartholomew hits his Surf and it takes it out. Fourth badge done, and other than a couple scares we had, it's our easiest yet. Afterwards, I have some housekeeping to take care of, and some new encounters to get. In Ilex Forest, I catch my bosun, a gnarly Psyduck I name Bouchard. Bouchard has a neutral, quirky nature, which I'm happy about. I head through Olivine and catch my deckhand, an overpowering Tentacool on Route 40. I name him Diabolito. Diabolito has another neutral nature. Tentacool is a great Pokemon, so I'm hyped. After an obscene amount of time, I catch my Striker, a Quillfish, and name him Rob Glover. Rob Glover has a naive nature, which is great for his speed. And, after a grueling trip, plus some handy clock manipulation, I get a Lapras I named DeSoto. DeSoto has a docile nature, and shell armor, which is pretty good. I won't need him for a bit, but I think he'll be really helpful. I then head out to Route 27, and on my third attempt, somehow fish up a Shelder I catch and name Del Rio. Del Rio has shell armor and a modest nature, both of which are pretty not good for it. I won't be using it for a while though anyway, so no harm no foul I guess. I also picked up the Mystic Water in Cherry Grove, and most of my remaining Water Stones. Anyways, that's all for backtracking. In Olivine, I consider trading O'Malley for a random Voltorb, but for some strange reason, maybe having to do with a water-based run, I decided against it. After breaking most of the bones in my body, I make it to the top of the Glittering Lighthouse. Jasmine asks us to voyage to Sandwood to plunder some medicine to cure Amphi. As a water trainer, it pains me to help an electric type, but alas. On Route 41, I catch my Navigator, a stealthy Mantine I name Coxon. Coxon has a neutral hardy nature, and is about to be extremely useful. Chinchou is also on this route, and while Lantern is one of my favorite Pokemon, I figured I should make it meaningful that I'm playing HeartGold by picking a version exclusive on the one route it's on. I can get Chinchou later anyways. Yucine is furious that yet another water type is in awe of my fearsome command of the seas, but he'll have to live with it because my team absolutely destroys him in battle. Bouchard takes Drowsy down after a few Ice Beams. A switch to Barbarossa, who I took out of the PC just for this fight. It takes out his Electrode, and then switching to Coxon and Lopez allows me to get rid of his Haunter after a Curse. Yucine runs away, baffled by my nautical power. And, while training for the gym, Diabolito evolves into a Tentacruel. I did a ton of prep for Chuck, but realized it wasn't necessary, and let me show you why. I opened with Lopez, and hit a Twisted Spoon boosted Confusion to take his Primate to half after it hit a Leer. It hits another one, and Confusion takes it ever so close, but it survives on just a sliver. Chuck Hyper Potions, and I think I have some room even with the defense drops, so I go for a Confusion and a crit, taking Primate out. Nice. Poliwrath is next, and I risk a Body Slam to hit Yawn, but it outspeeds and puts Lopez to sleep first. I'm trying to figure out who makes most sense now when I realize I've totally forgotten about Bonnie. My bad. I switch her in, and Poliwrath is effectively powerless. I hit some Dragon Rages until Chuck uses another Hyper Potion. Then I tackle and hit another Dragon Rage. It puts Bonnie to sleep before Chesto Berry wakes her up, and then she can just continue spamming Dragon Rage. Poliwrath misses a Hypnosis, and that's game for Chuck. we've hauled in our 5th badge. And this team is looking really good. I head to Olivine and give Jasmine the secret potion. She thanks me and leaves by going down the ladder. But where's she going? That's a dead end. Anyways, as I'm sure you've seen in every hardcore Nuzlocke video of these games ever, the 7th gym actually has a lower level cap than the 6th. So we're going to go to Mahogany Town instead of sticking around. So why did I do this first? Simple. I wanted to get a call from Baoba, who allows me access to the Safari Zone. I'm not going to go there because I honestly don't know what the rules would be for this one, so I'm just kind of disallowing it in general, but this allows me access to Route 47, where I can catch a seal. I'm part of like the 10th of a percent of Pokemon players who loves Dugong, so I'm actually pretty excited about this. I catch one and name her Zhengyi. Zhengyi has a neutral docile nature and hydration, which is really good. One thing that's really interesting about these routes, though, is the trainers. There are a lot of really interesting type combinations they use. Take Double Team Tom and Kay. They've got a Magmar and an Electabuzz, giving my team an interesting challenge. I decide to go for a rollout setup and use Gramont and Rob Glover. But while this happens, Electabuzz uses Thunderbolt, which crits, taking out Rob Glover. RIP to a really interesting Pokemon. I bring in Jang as Rock Blast took out Electabuzz, and then I used a Surf and Bubble Beam strategy for the Magmar. An unfortunate loss, but my team needs to be stronger for it to obliterate all who stand in our way. I guess Rob Glover couldn't hack it. I head to Mount Mordor for our next encounter, and while searching for it, O'Malley evolves into a Kingler. And because it takes so long to find it, Drake also evolves into a Feraligatr. After, I kid you not, 3 hours of searching, I finally find it. I catch a Meryl and name him Cook. Cook has a neutral docile nature, and more importantly, huge power. I meet up with Yusin, and he's such a dork. He thinks he cares more about the seas than I do, but he's wrong. The sea is strength and destruction, the only things that matter. I decide to take Davy Jones out of the box and evolve it into a Starmie. We head to Lake of Rage, where after a battle that features Zhengyi, Gramont, and DeSoto nearly getting taken out by the Red Gyarados, we meet Lance. This is a man who clearly shares my need for revenge, which I see even better after he kills a man in pursuit of his goals. What a role model! The law calls him a bleeding heart, which sounds fake to me. How could someone so cool care about anything other than power, treasure, and revenge? DeSoto easily takes out Petrel, and we follow his Murkrow to a double battle starring Lance's extremely hacked Dragonite. Other than a point where Gramont gets put to sleep and has some accuracy drops, we're able to breeze through this battle pretty easily, mostly coasting off of Dragonite's sheer power alone. I'm celebrating my win, but Lance tells me I need to murder some electrodes to save the day. I take pause at this. It seems cruel, even for my fearsome pirate crew. But I have no choice but to go through with it. Davy Jones one-shots all 3, putting them out of their misery. At least I get Whirlpool out of it. While training for the Mahogany Gym, Zhengyi evolves into a stunning Dugong. And that's pretty much all for this build-up. I get a little lazy, and I don't get my whole team to the cap before taking on Price. I open with Davy Jones and hit a Magna Boosted Thunderbolt, taking out his seal in a single hit. He then sends out Piloswine. I use Surf, which takes it to a sliver before Citrus Berry recovery, and it responds with Mud Bomb to get an accuracy drop. Even with the drop, I'm thinking I should be fine, but wow, I am wrong. I miss the next 3 Surfs, and he lands a Mud Bomb each turn, even though it's only 85% accuracy, bringing Davy to 13 HP. I can't keep it in, so I switch to Bartholomew, and he lands another Mud Bomb and gets another accuracy drop. But Bartholomew takes it out with a Choice Specs boosted Surf. And now Dugong comes in. I just switched to DeSoto, who takes it out in 2 more Thunderbolts. I was never in serious trouble, but that battle could have been deadly for a second there. 7th-ish badge is ours! I head back to Olivine, change my party up a bit, and raid Jasmine's gym. I open with Barbarossa. I take her first Magnemite out in a single Mud Bomb before she sends in Steelix. I get Steelix to a little under half with a Mud Bomb before Citrus Berry brings it back over. Then Steelix hits an Iron Tail, which doesn't do too much damage, but gets the defense drop. I decide to switch into Bartholomew as Steelix goes for Sandstorm, and then I just take it out with Mystic Water boosted Surf. I switch Barbarossa back in on the final Magnemite, and it ends up as a free switch. Then, one more Mud Bomb takes it out for the win, letting us plunder our 6th-ish badge. I'm pleasantly surprised Mud Bomb has hit so much this run. It usually feels like it's like 40% accuracy, but it's been putting in work here. Upon leaving the gym, we get a call from Professor Elm that Team Rocket's been doing some weird stuff with the radio. Upon getting to Goldenrod, I see the city's been overtaken by grunts. We need to crush them like the bugs they are, by joining them. Or at least we try to, until the law ruins our plans. Well, what better way to get revenge against evil teams than by wiping this one out, right? Bonnie blows away pretty much everyone until we get to Petrel. This fight isn't necessarily hard as much as it is a slog. My team gets pretty beat up, but other than a self-destruct that nearly took out Lopez, it's basically fine. Barbarossa even levels up and learns Earthquake. I now battle the Law, and I'm glad to see Lance has throttled him. Serves him right for getting in the way of my revenge. But this battle is deeply stupid. I start with DeSoto and crush his Golbat with an Ice Beam, taking only a little damage in return. He sends in his Meganium next, which I wasn't expecting, so I switch into Diabolito. This apparently was the right call, as Diabolito isn't affected by Poison Powder. I forgot I'd equipped the choice specs on him though, and also forgot he knew Ice Beam, so I locked myself into Acid as Meganium sets up Reflect. And since Diabolito is part Poison, it just refuses to use Petal Dance and starts using Synthesis instead. This inadvertently times things perfectly, so when I get a lucky crit and take Meganium out, Reflect also ends. Magnemite is next, so I just switch to Barbarossa and take it out with an Earthquake. Now Haunter is up, and I switch into Bonnie, who immediately gets hit with Curse. Haunter outspeeds, but just hits a mean look as Bonnie takes it out in a single bite. As the Law goes full Joker, he sends out Sneasel, and it doesn't really make sense to keep Bonnie in with her curse damage, so I switch back to DeSoto, who loses about a third with Feint Attack. I accidentally click Thunderbolt, which takes it a little over half as another Feint Attack takes it to a third before Citrus Berry Recovery. No worries though, I'll just take it out with Surf. Except it survives on a Sliver! Another Feint Attack leaves me susceptible to a crit, or maybe even a high roll. I have to switch. No one in my party can take it super well, so I just decide to go to Zhang, who takes 2 Feint Attacks to half health before it takes Sneasel out with a Bubble Beam. Just deeply dumb all around. Our rival says that he didn't love his Pokemon enough, and as I look at my needlessly beat down team, I realize he's right. I've been treating my Pokemon like tools to a goal. What good is revenge if I become like the teams I loathe in the process? What good is piracy if you're not doing it with friends as equals? I resolve to change my ways and take Johto by storm with my Pokemon, but this time as friends. We find the director and hustle him into giving me the card key. I use it to beat down Proton in 2 hits with DeSoto. Ariana is tougher, giving DeSoto serious paralysis issues, but thanks to a lucky freeze on her Vileplume, we're able to beat her with Diabolito. And now, it's time for Archer. With a fresh perspective, I face the acting leader of Team Rocket. Diabolito takes out his Houndour with a Surf, gets outsped, and loses a third to Houndoom before taking it out. And then another Surf gets rid of Coughing. Diabolito pulled through for us, and now the director gives us the Rainbow Wing as a sign of our unity and strength. I make a quick detour to Whirl Island, so I take Reed out of the graveyard and teach her Whirlpool. I go in and catch a sturdy Horsey. I name her Hard. Hard has a hasty nature, which could be solid, but she likely won't get a lot of use this run anyways, so sorry about that. In Ice Path, I get the much needed Waterfall HM, and shortly thereafter, Lopez evolves into a Slowbro. Blackthorn City doesn't have much going on, so I take my unified team and invade the gym. I develop a plan that, in retrospect, was probably less than ideal and head in. I open with Diabolito, who suppresses Gyarados' Intimidate with Clear Body, and then sets up Toxic Spikes as it takes a Dragon Rage in return. I switch into DeSoto as he takes another Dragon Rage. After taking a second to half health, I can start my offense. A Thunderbolt takes Gyarados out. Dragonair paralyzes DeSoto, but a Lumberry cures it as DeSoto takes it out with an Ice Beam. The second Dragonair paralyzes it though, but it breaks through to hit another Ice Beam for the KO! Kingdra's next, and I'm really worried about DeSoto's ability to tank hits now that he's at half and paralyzed. Kingdra hits Dragon Pulse, taking DeSoto to a quarter. I need this to hit. And I land Perish Song! I've always wanted to use this to win a big fight, and saw my chance here. From there, I switched to Diabolito, Lopez, and finally Bonnie to waste its turns before it faints, giving me the win. In retrospect, I should have used Yawn on the Gyarados to allow for free switch into DeSoto, but I'm glad it worked out. Claire refuses to give me the badge I'm rightfully owed, and makes me take the Dragon Master task to earn it again. Using my new knowledge of teamwork though, I'm able to ace the test easily, and I head back to Elm's lab, going right to the Kimono Girls. This fight sequence is tough. Umbreon beats up most of my team pretty badly as is. Espeon is tough, but I make it through with Lopez taking some serious damage. Flareon is easy, and then Jolteon I just switch into Barbarossa for an Earthquake. Vaporeon I just go into DeSoto and then Davy Jones to spam some Thunderbolts. We get the Clear Bell and take it right to the Bell Tower to meet Ho-Oh. While Ho-Oh is one of my favorite legendary Pokemon, it's not a water type, so we've gotta kill it. I met with disapproval after, but it had to be done. I'm cursed by this because tragedy strikes right after I leave Tojo Falls. I run into this trainer with all three members of the Bulbasaur line. Lopez takes out the Bulbasaur and struggles with the Ivysaur, so I decide to switch after Venusaur puts him to sleep. I got to Zhengyi, who takes a Petal Dance to just above half. She hits an Aurora Beam to bring Venusaur to a quarter before Petal Dance high rolls and takes her out. Oh, that's brutal. She's a great Pokemon and I'm so sad she's gone. At least on Route 26, I find a Chinchou. Since I have no more catchable encounters for now, I just use my Master Ball and name him Alcantara. Alcantara has Illuminate, which I didn't even know Chinchou could have, and a Lonely Nature, which raises attack and lowers defense. Honestly, just awful. I decide now is a good time to evolve Zhang, so I use a Water Stone to evolve him into a Poliwrath. I get too mentally tripped up planning for my final fight against the Law before the Elite Four, and wind up not making any of the changes I wanted to. As a result, I end up opening with Barbarossa, who takes out his Sneasel after a couple turns. This prompts him to send in Meganium, who I'm absolutely not able to take right now. I have to switch to DeSoto, who takes a Petal Dance for big damage, and then takes another to go into the low yellow. An Ice Beam brings Meganium into the red, but it's still standing. With Overgrow up now, I don't really know what I can do. I decide to switch into Lopez as it hurts itself in confusion, thankfully. Then I click Ice Beam, but it outspeeds and hits itself, taking it out! Oh my god, that was incredible luck. Haunter is next, hits a Shadow Ball, and then Lopez misses a Zen Headbutt. I switch into Zhang, who takes it out in a couple waterfalls, but Kadabra's out now. I switch into Lopez as it just goes for Disable. Next turn, Surf takes it to a Sliver as it sets up Reflect. Then I predict and Disable and use Ice Beam to take it out. Magneton is next, and I switch into Barbarossa to neutralize its Spark before taking it out with Earthquake. I dodge a Supersonic in the process too. Golbat is last, and a couple waterfalls take it out. That fight was tough. I got really lucky a couple of times, and I don't know that my team could have beaten Meganium as currently constructed otherwise. I really should have planned that better. I do some training to get my team up to the level of Karen's Ace at 47. This is my crew for the Elite Four. It's time to enter. Will is first, and I lead with Bonnie. She uses a Dragon Dance first, as Xatu uses Confuse Ray. This is cured by Lumberry. I wanted to get a couple more Dragon Dances in, but it just knows too many status moves. I guess it's go time. Bonnie takes Xatu out with a Bite, then does the same with Jinx. Executor takes an Ice Fang down to the red and flinches, so I use a second Dragon Dance as Will heals. One more takes it down. Slowbro comes out, and a Bite takes it to the red as well, but it just uses Curse, so I finish it with the Bite next turn. One more Bite gets rid of Will's final Xatu and wins us the battle. The Koga battle was just gross, though. I led with Bonnie and set up a Dragon Dance as his Ariados used Spiderweb. I used another, and Ariados used Poison Jab, poisoning Bonnie. Because I was an idiot and gave her a Citrus Berry instead of a Lumberry, it's now or never. An Aqua Tail takes Ariados out. Fortress comes in now, and I decide to switch to Barbarossa as it sets up Toxic Spikes. Great timing! After alternating between Protect and Swift for several turns, I'm able to land 3 waterfalls to take it out, but its bulk posed some problems. Barbarossa heads into Venomoth with most of its health. Venomoth immediately confuses him, but he's able to take 2 Psychics to finally take it out. Now Barbarossa's at extremely low health, however, so I've gotta switch. I go into Zhang, who gets Toxic as Muck uses Minimize. But this doesn't matter as Zhang hits Earthquake to take Muck to the yellow. Muck minimizes again and one more Earthquake hits it to take it out. It's just Crobat left, so I go into Davy Jones, who also gets Toxic as Crobat uses Double Team. Davy hits an Ice Beam though to bring it into the yellow before Citrus Recovery. Crobat uses one more Double Team, but we just act like it isn't even up as Ice Beam gets rid of it and lets us win our second Elite Four battle. I begin my battle with Bruno by setting up 6 Dragon Dances on Hitmontop. It only has Quick Attack to hit me neutrally, so I think it's a pretty safe play. It winds up going for counters most of these turns anyways, and then once I'm ready, an Aqua Tail takes it out. Same goes for Onix, then Hitmonchan, then Machamp, and then finally Hitmonlee. Bonnie's a beast. It's really cool to see. The Karen fight is tricky in general, but my team doesn't match up great here. I lead with Zhang and hit a Wake Up Slap as Umbreon uses Double Team. I land a Waterfall next as it uses Feint Attack. Finally, another Wake Up Slap takes it out. We've gotten pretty lucky with evasion shots so far. Vileplume comes out, and I switch into Bonnie. It uses Stun Spore, but now I finally put a Lumberry on her, so she's fine. And Ice Fang doesn't quite take her out, so she uses another Stun Spore. Bonnie freezes up next turn as she gets hit for big damage with Petal Dance. One more brings Bonnie to half before she can take it out with another Ice Fang. Houndoom comes out, and it's not worth the risk, so I switch back into Zhang as it sets up Nasty Plot. I go for a Hypnosis that misses as it uses Flamethrower to bring Zhang to half. It uses another Nasty Plot as Zhang lands a Hypnosis this time, thankfully. We go for a Waterfall, which takes it to the red before it gets Citrus Recovery. Then it stays asleep to let us take it out with a Wake Up Slap. Karen brings out Murkrow now, and I switch to DeSoto, but she goes for Whirlwind to bring me into Lopez. I'm okay with that though. After a Feint Attack, Lopez takes out Murkrow with a single Ice Beam. Gengar is all that's left. Lopez takes a Focus Blast for very little damage as a Surf does huge damage on it. Gengar naturally misses her next Focus Blast, and Lopez takes her out for the win. We're on to the champion! Facing Lance after learning the meaning of love and friendship gives us a natural strength. We can do this! I use some rare candies to get my team to the cap and head in. I send in Davy Jones, who uses a magnet-boosted Thunderbolt to take out Gyarados. An Ice Beam takes out Lance's first Dragonite. Then another Ice Beam leaves his second on just a sliver. This could get rough. He uses Thunder Wave and paralyzes Davy. Next turn, Lance full restores, but another Ice Beam takes Dragonite out. Aerodactyl is next, so I switch into Barbarossa, who takes a Crunch and an Aerial Ace before knocking it out with Waterfall. Lance's final Dragonite comes out, and I switch to Bonnie, who takes an Outrage to almost half before responding with a critical Ice Fang to take it out. I'm almost certain that mattered. Charizard is Lance's final Pokemon. I decide to just stay in as it hits Air Slash for massive damage before I take it out with Aqua Tail for the win. We did it! We beat the Elite Four! And for the first time on this channel, I didn't lose a single Pokemon in the process, at least in the Elite Four. But this isn't the end of the journey! We still have more seas to conquer. It's now time to take on Kanto. One small problem though, is that the Fuchsia City Gym cap is level 50. So, the same as we have now. We have to hightail it there immediately. Suicune even gives us a nice send-off, blessing our watery journey in Kanto. Janine opens with Crobat as I lead with Lopez. He takes a Wing Attack for minor damage as an Ice Beam sends Crobat to the yellow. One more and it faints. Ariados is out next. A Twisted Spoon boosted Zen Headbutt takes it to a sliver after a Poison Gem hits hard. After Janine heals, another brings it back. Ariados poisons Lopez next turn, so after a Zen Headbutt takes it out, I switch into Bonnie for his second Ariados. This one opens with Nightshade before Bonnie hits Ariados hard with an Aqua Tail. It responds with a Swagger, but a Lumberry that I placed on Bonnie activates, so I just get a free attack boost. A Bite takes it out. Weezing comes out after, and an Aqua Tail takes it to half as a Sludge Bomb hurts, but it doesn't do anything serious. Bonnie hits another to KO it. Venomoth comes out, and while I could switch, I wanted to see what an Aqua Tail would do. It uses Double Team, and our evasion luck continues into Kanto because we not only hit, but we take it out. Janine forks over the 9th badge, and we're back to doing these gyms roughly in order. I decided to change my team up a bit, and swapped in Alcantara and Diabolito. I got Alcantara to evolve into a Lantern, and then got my team to level 50 before taking on Surge. I was a little worried that Barbarossa would take too much damage at 3 levels under the cap, but I decided to try anyways. I sent in Barbarossa as Raichu bested our evasion luck. We missed Earthquake after it used Double Team, but then hit it and take it out after a second. We then hit Electrode through a Double Team to take it out. We dodge a Supersonic on Magneton to knock it out too. Nice. Electabuzz comes in, but randomly decides to use Light Screen even as Barbarossa doesn't have any special moves, and then an Earthquake gives it a KO. One last Electrode and we take it out easily. Probably the easiest gym battle we've had this whole run. If we're going by level caps, Cerulean is next, but I decide that since I'm passing through Saffron anyways, I'll just go there first. I swapped Davy Jones, Bartholomew, and Coxon back onto my team, train them up a little, and take on Sabrina. I most likely won't need them, but I wanted to better optimize my team for each gym. I lead with Bonnie, who starts a Dragon Dance setup. Espeon's going for Calm Mind though, so after we each get 2, I decide to just take it out. And with a single bite, it's gone! I go for the other 4 on Mr. Mime, who uses a useless Light Screen, mimics Dragon Dance, then takes off a 3rd with Psychic, and starts a Dragon Dance setup. I thought it might use Skill Swap and drop my attack, but guess not. Now that Bonnie's all charged, we're chillin'. A Bite takes out Mr. Mime, then next turn we outspeed and take out Alakazam too. Another badge is ours. Someone's stolen a part at the power plant, so I've got to go to Cerulean to get it back. I run into this guy at the gym who bolts right in between a couple, and then we have to battle with him, still awkwardly between them. It's gotta be one of the weirder dates I've ever seen, but hopefully they liked the negligible entertainment of Alcantara taking out his Golbat in a single discharge. I return the part and begrudgingly restore electricity to the region. But this means I get to fight Misty now. As another water trainer, I need to show her I reign supreme. I send in Davy Jones against her Golduck, use a magnet-boosted Thunderbolt, and it doesn't quite kill. Golduck hits a weak Water Pulse in return. Misty heals next turn, so 2 more Thunderbolts take it out. She sends in Starmie next, which I wasn't expecting, but I guess we're having an honor battle now. Another Thunderbolt takes her Starmie just under half after Citrus Berry recovery, but she immediately hits Davy with the Confuse Ray. It hurts itself, and then Starmie just spams Recover. Finally, after several turns, we break free, and after a couple more Thunderbolts, Starmie's done. Misty sends out Quagsire, and Davy Jones is about at a quarter HP, so it's time to switch. I go for Bonnie, who gets confused by Water Pulse as well to slog her way through some bites and Ice Fangs to bring it to a sliver. But Misty just heals again, so we gotta start over. Bonnie ultimately gets into the yellow before her Citrus Berry helps her out. Finally, we're able to take Quagsire down. Lapras is all that's left. Bonnie gets some damage with a bite, but gets put to sleep. Guess it's probably time to switch, and who better to switch to than our Lapras? DeSoto tanks a weak Water Pulse on the switch-in, but no confusion. And after 2 Thunderbolts, Misty's toast and we've established total dominance of the seas. Pewter City is next, so after taking out Snorlax, I go there and get a Helix fossil I'd smashed up, revived into an Ammonite I named Alston. Alston has shell armor and a modest nature, both of which are great. And because I'd never played on a Thursday after this was my final encounter of the run. With that, there's nothing left to do but prep for Brock, if you can call it that. I swap around some team members and head in. I actually forgot to properly prep again, so not all of my party members have the right items, if they have any. I open with Lopez, who takes out Brock's Graveler in a single serve. Brock sends in Kabutops next, who's the only Pokemon I'm afraid of at this point. I decide to just yawn it as it goes for Giga Drain. Lopez isn't that specially bulky, but he only takes a fifth from it. I switch to the bulkier Zhang, who takes a soft Rock Slide as Kabutops fell asleep. An Earthquake takes it to half as it stays asleep, but then I just go for a Wake Up Slap to guarantee the kill. Next is Rhyhorn, who goes down to a Waterfall. The same happens to Onix too. Last is Amistar. It uses Protect before I can finally land an Earthquake to take off only around 48%. It hits a weak Spike Cannon in response. Jing hits a weak Waterfall followed by another weak Spike Cannon. I think we're in range for an Earthquake kill, and after another Protect, we go for it. And it works! Another Gym Badge is ours. Not my best effort, but it didn't need to be. After beating Brock, I go to Mount Moon to take on the Law. His team is a little scary, but I think we can take them. I lead with Zhang, who easily KOs his Sneasel with a Wake Up Slap. This brings Alakazam in, so I switch to Davy Jones, who takes him out with 2 Surfs as he sets up Reflect and hits a weak Psychic. This draws in Meganium though, so I go to Diabolito as he sets up Light Screen. Meganium uses Petal Dance, which is pretty weak, and then after 3 Ice Beams, he's toast too. Magneton comes in next, so I switch to Barbarossa to neutralize Thunder Wave, and then take it out with an Earthquake after Magnapop. Now it's Gengar, who uses Confuse Ray on Barbarossa. I really want to get some chip damage with Waterfall in, so I keep Barbarossa in, but he keeps getting hurt. And then Gengar uses Mean Look and hits a crit Shadow Ball to bring Barbarossa to just 2 HP. Barbarossa finally breaks through to hit Gengar, but it survives with a quarter. No! I've got to sacrifice Barbarossa. And he goes down to a Shadow Ball. I send in DeSoto to finish Gengar off and take out Golbat, but I'm bummed. Barbarossa is one of my oldest, and the only Pokemon I felt totally comfortable using against Pikachu and electric types in general. What's worse is that Barbarossa also sealed me off from getting a Whiscash outbreak in Violet City, so I have no backup ground types. Alas, we'll have to persevere somehow. Fortunately, we don't have to consider a new team member quite yet, because I need a cut Pokemon to access the Celadon Gym. Even though Erica is a bad type matchup, I've got this. I lead with Diabolito, who immediately takes Jumpluff out with a single Ice Beam. Victory Bell goes down to another. Blossom gets taken to the yellow, but just goes for Solar Beam before I can take it out. Tangela drops in a single hit for the win. Somehow that was the easiest battle we've had, and a much needed win to restore our confidence. I go to Pallet Town, and Oak said he had something for me, but then he just tells me he'll give it to me later. Why was he looking for me then? I go to Cinnabar Island, where I learn that I need to go to an ice cave to get to the fire gym. I decide to switch my team up, adding Gramont and Alcantara. But now we're good to go. I lead with Alcantara, who takes out Magcargo in a single serve. Next is Magmar, who outspeeds to hit a Confuse Ray. Alcantara hurts himself, and then Magmar sets up Sunny Day. A Surf brings Magmar to a little under half. It hits an Overheat to take him to a little over half, as Alcantara snaps out of confusion to hit another Surf for the KO. Nice! Rapidash is last, and outspeeds for a hard-hitting Flare Blitz that leaves Alcantara in the low red. Yikes. But a Citrus Berry gives some recovery, and then a Surf takes Rapidash to a third. Now I need to switch, so I go into Zhang, who takes a Flare Blitz at 3/4. The recoil brings Rapidash to the red, so Blaine heals, but it doesn't even matter because we get a crit Earthquake anyways. 1 badge left. It's Blue time now, and I bring in DeSoto to take him on. Blue tells us for the umpteenth time how much better Kanto is than Johto, and we begin. I open with DeSoto, who lands a critical Ice Beam to take out his Executor. I'd given him a Rindo Berry, but I guess it wasn't needed. Machamp comes out, and I don't want DeSoto in against him, so I switch to Alcantara. But I realize this was a mistake, as he goes for a Dynamic Punch, bringing him to the yellow and confusing him. I recalibrate and switch to Zhang, who takes a surprisingly weak Earthquake. Zhang then lands Hypnosis, and then starts using Waterfall, which looks to be a 3-hit KO. The second brings Machamp to the red as he wakes up and brings Zheng to the yellow with a Thunder Punch. I anticipate a heal and hit another Hypnosis, but this time decide to switch after. I go into Davy Jones, who brings Machamp to the red with the Psychic, allowing him to be taken out next turn. Rhydon is next, and a Surf takes him out too. Arcanine doesn't go down quite to a Surf, so he hits a Flare Blitz to bring Davy Jones to 2/3. Blue heals, and another Surf brings him back to the red where we can take him out next turn. So we got lucky he didn't use Extreme Speed. Pidgeot is out now, and a Thunderbolt takes him to the yellow before it uses Whirlwind to bring in Bonnie. It hits a crit return to bring her to the low yellow, but she manages to take it out with an Ice Fang. I don't want to keep her in for Gyarados anymore, so I switch to DeSoto, who takes a weak return. A Thunderbolt brings Gyarados to the red and paralyzes as it sets up Dragon Dance. Blue heals, and then another Thunderbolt paralyzes it again. Blue heals again, and then a third Thunderbolt doesn't paralyze, meaning it outspeeds next turn to hit a return, bringing DeSoto to the yellow. But another Thunderbolt finally takes it out and gets us our last badge. We've conquered the seas and gyms of both Johto and Kanto. My crew is strong and fearsome. Professor Oak calls me and gives me Rock Climb and access to Mount Silver, meaning it's time for a grand finale. I get my team up to the cap of 84 because setting it at Pikachu's level seems unfair. I spend a bit of time planning for this, but it's go time. At the top of Mount Silver, I find Red, who we challenge to an ultimate battle. We lead with Zheng. Red's Pikachu hits a Thunderbolt, but a Wakan Berry I'd attached to Zheng means it only takes him to half health. He responds with an Earthquake to take Pikachu out. Venusaur is in next, and I decide to save Zheng for later if we need him and switch to Bonnie. She loses a quarter to Giga Drain on the switch in, but takes Venusaur out with a critical Muscle Band boosted Ice Fang. Nice! Snorlax is up now, and Aqua Tail takes him to about half. He responds with a Blizzard to bring Bonnie to a third before she takes him out with another Aqua Tail. Red's Lapras comes out next, and I think Bonnie really doesn't have much to do here, so I just decide to get off as much chip damage with her as I can before letting her fall. She's able to get Lapras to about half with a couple bites thanks to a flinch, but her luck runs out shortly thereafter. I send in DeSoto to avenge her. Thunderbolt isn't doing enough though, and Lapras responds with Body Slam, which paralyzes. No! From here, we bring in a cycle of Lapras, spamming Body Slams as DeSoto hits weak Thunderbolts until Red would use a full restore. Finally, after a couple minutes of this routine, Lapras goes down, leaving DeSoto at 15 HP. There's no point switching, so I decide to see if Blastoise will use a Focus Blast and miss so we can get some Thunderbolt chip damage in. Alas, it uses Flash Cannon and takes DeSoto out. That's 2 long-time Pokemon down. But no time to mourn yet, we've got to win together. I send out Alcantara, who gets outsped, and somehow hit by a Focus Blast to lose a third as an Expert Belt boosted Discharge sends Blastoise to the red after hail damage. Red full restores again. How many does he have? And we try again. Apparently he doesn't have another because Blastoise uses Focus Blast to send Alcantara to a third before falling to another Discharge. Charizard is last, and I don't really think switching makes sense, so I guess this is goodbye Alcantara. Charizard goes for Flare Blitz, and Alcantara survives on 13 HP, and then hits a critical Surf to take Charizard out. Honestly, what a way to end. That was incredible. Red is speechless even. And we did it! We conquered Johto and Kanto, built a fearsome and deep pirate crew, got our revenge on Team Rocket, collected a pretty hefty amount of treasure along the way too. We lost some good friends at the end, but they'll forever live on in our hearts. This run was really fun. It definitely wasn't the hardest I've done, but it was really nice not to be in cap trouble constantly the whole game. The water type is really fun, and had a ton of type diversity within it. I really enjoyed getting to experiment and tailor my team to each gym leader. This was probably the Nuzlocke that felt most like what a Nuzlocke should be for me, and it was really charming watching this team build over the course of a game. And that's a wrap! If you like this video, please feel free to give a like or subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions or things you'd like to see me do, please feel free to leave a comment, at me on Twitter, or email me with your suggestion at ed40plays@gmail.com. And with that, this challenge is a wrap! Catch you all next time!